Hi, this is Dean at Sentinel Candles. Today I'm going to be making some votives in a very special fragrance which I personally blended myself. It's called Seven Flowers. It's one of the biggest sellers in my shop. I make it in melts, votives and soy jars. So the wax I'm using today is Soy Pillar Blend. It's fantastic for making votives and melts. So I've got my fragrance here. This is 50 mils of Seven Flowers. I can't tell you what's in it. It's a trade secret. So I'm going to pour in my fragrance into my wax. There's no color with this particular votive. The blend actually makes the color itself, which is like a light yellow creamy color. And that's based on the dyes that they've used in the fragrances. You've got to give this a really good stir. I'm only using 720 grams of wax here, and that should do all 12 of these votives. Normally, I've seen people and they use these with wick pins. So there's like a metal wick that sits in there, and then they pour the wax around, and then they can pull the wick pin out and put one of these underneath straight through. I prefer not to do that. I've used wick pins before, and quite honestly, I didn't like the process. I prefer to put the wicks in while it's setting. To get these ready, I'm just using cooking spray you get from the supermarket, and you just spray into each one. Get a tissue, fold it over. Watch the edges up here because these are extremely sharp. I've cut myself a number of times. Put the tissue in, move it around a bit, ready to go. And do that with the rest of them. And the reason I do this is because when they're set and ready to pop out, they're not going to stick to the side of the wall. It's nice and oily already, and it will just pop out ready to pour. And I've got all my wicks up here at the end. There's 12 of them, and I'm probably going to need one jar left over to do whatever's left, because there's always a little bit left. So we're going to tip a little bit in. We're not going to go right to the top at this stage. And the reason is because this pouring pot is way too full for me to get really precise. Sometimes they go over. The top has got a little bend on it, and it just pours out that little tiny bend. So tip the rest into that one. I can already see that these are starting to go murky, and let me show you. You can see at the bottom there that it's white, so it's already going murky, otherwise you would see metal. So we're going to start placing these wicks in. This is a CDN 10 wick. I buy them and they're about 150 mils long, and then I cut them in half and I add the tab on the bottom, so I get 2 for 1. And I just place it in there. The bottom has got like a murky feel to it. Now when you do this, you'll probably notice that the wax is actually making the wick turn over on its side, or not turn over on its side, but it's not leaning straight. So this particular way, you do have to watch them. That's going to be horrible when it sets, but I'll keep coming back to it every few minutes and just changing it, so I push it back that way. This probably take you a few times if you haven't done one like this already. Okay, so we just fix them up as we go. So once they're sort of set in their place, they won't move. They'll move a little bit, but nothing too great. So most of those are in the center now, and they're not going to move. And I really do like to get them in the center, because otherwise it doesn't burn properly. So there we have it. 12 votives, perfectly done. Wicks are almost all of them in the center right now, but by the time that they set, they will be in the center. That's how I make my votives. Okay, so now my votives have gone all hard on top and they're able to be moved around, but they really need to sit for 4 to 5 hours, and then they might pop out. Personally, I leave them overnight and then they just slip out. So I'll come back in the morning and I'll show you when I remove them. Okay, so it's a few hours later and all my votives are now set. I've also got some yellow ones and some green ones here which are just setting. I only poured them probably 10 minutes ago. So these ones here, they basically just fall straight out of the container. There's no residue left in there at all. It's nice and clean, ready for the next one. And that's how I make my votives. Thanks for watching.